doing anything on my channel. Tell you guys how I joined the fandom, and you know the backstory on Kia. Doing anything on my channel. Doing anything on my channel. I'm gonna try to get him. Doing anything on my channel. Doing anything on my channel.
Dada. Dada still fun. Kia no get fun.
Doing anything on my channel.
What are you doing, Dada?
Doing anything on my channel. Doing anything on my channel. Hopefully see you in the future on a weekly basis.
Which is apparently nothing for 6 months. But I guess we're just gonna play that intro one more time. Hey everybody, this is Lord Keo here, and I just want to have a little bit of a talk with you guys. I know it's my first video back, but today is September 11th, and as somebody who actually lived through these events at an age in which I could remember it, at an age in which it could have impacted me, I feel I should actually talk about this. Now I know there's some of you out there, I don't know if you're going to be watching my videos, if you're under the age in which you know, would have been alive during that time. I guess you could have been, like, born that year. Hell, you could have even been born on September 11th. I don't know. But that would make you 17 years old. So I'm just going to give you guys a little bit, not exactly of a history lesson, because I don't want to get into any of the actual details of the September 11th attack, but I'm going to tell you about what I went through that day. Now, I was actually in school. I was 11 years old at the time. That means you can do simple math and figure out how old I am. You guys can do that yourself if you want. Put it down in the comments if you think you got it right. It's simple addition. Anyway, the day that September 11th happened, which was September 11th, I was actually in school. I was heading to class that morning. I woke up. Nobody else in the house was awake. There was no TVs on, no news. I got up, I got myself ready for school, because that was my routine. I left for school, because everybody else in the house was pretty much gone, except for my cousins. And I think they actually stayed home from school that day, because they didn't want to wake up, and I didn't feel like waking them up. So I just left without them. My grandma was asleep in her room, so she was actually there. There was an adult there. I went all the way to school. Now, one of the first things that I realized from that was the streets were really empty, like unusually empty. I was in a big city. I was in Phoenix, Arizona at the time, and in Phoenix, Arizona, when kids are going to school, usually the streets are completely packed, and there wasn't even one car that I saw on the entire way to school, which is about 3 blocks away. When I got to school, the parking lot was equally empty. There was almost nobody there. The buses were still running. There was still some teachers inside the parking lot, but as of anybody else there wasn't a single person. So I made it to class, and there was only a handful of us there, and when I walked in, the first thing I noticed was the TV in the classroom was on. Now, normally the TV in the classroom was on only for morning announcements, and that was after everybody sat down and the bell rang. I knew I wasn't late. I usually got there about 10-15 minutes early, and it was on the news, and a building was was smoking. So while I was actually walking to school, was about the same time that the attack actually happened in New York, on the World Trade Center. And I remember that we spent the entire day just watching the news in awe. We were actually watching the news when the second plane struck the second tower. I just remember that day, we got sent home early. There was still nobody on the streets. When I got home, it was very unusual because all of my cousins and my grandma and my mom were all watching the news. They were all watching this unfold. We got sent home, I think, at about 10 in the morning. We got there at 8. We spent 2 hours watching the news, and then it came down that all the students had to go home. So we all got sent home at 10 in the morning the rest of the day was done. We didn't have school that day. The next day, we didn't really do anything. The teachers just talked to us about everything that had happened, tried to get us to figure out exactly what was all there, what had exactly happened, what we knew. And I remember the next few years were kind of scary because we had went to war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it was all kinds of crazy. My brother Thomas had went to the military because of this. It was just all kinds of stuff had happened, and I was pretty much on the other side of the country. I mean, all of the other stuff that had happened, it seemed like it was pretty much distant to me, except for the fact that I have a cousin that lives up in New Jersey still. It was still really close. We had no idea about them. We couldn't contact them because all the phone lines there were really busy due to people talking on the phone, obviously emergency, first responders, other people going in and trying to call family members that are in New York and whatnot. All the phone lines were busy. This is before cell phones, so there was no way to get a direct line to them. You had to call their house and hope they were there, or call their work. And we'd have a phone number for her work, and no way of knowing what was going on if they were actually in New York that day. We had no idea, so it was really scary for that. But I think that's where I'm going to actually end this on that note. My heart and my respect and my love and my condolences go out to all the victims. Even 17 years later, I'm sure it still hurts. And all the first responders that went out there to help, I want to say thank you to them. I know that they got first responders from all over the country, California, Arizona. Every state sent first responders there to help with the cleanup and the search and the rescue. So I want to thank them as well. There is one last thing I want to end this kind of on a positive note. Like I said before, this was my first video for this year. I know it's the 11th month and all, but things hadn't panned out quite the way I wanted them to. I do want to show you one thing though. As you can tell, the background image here is new. This is a new design for Keo right here, and I got a bunch of different emotions, little things here. Didn't quite pan out and look quite the way I wanted it to from the beginning, but this is what I got. I wanted to do a series of emotions and poses. I don't think my artist quite understood what I meant by still frames from to do it like what Cothrix and what them do. I feel stupid now. But what they do, Cothrix and I don't remember what, Genesius, they use still images with a bunch of different poses and whatnot to express themselves. I wanted to do that, but it didn't quite come out the way I wanted exactly. And yeah, so this is what I got. And as you saw earlier, this is my this is the new design for Keo. I really like this new design. It's great. It's closer to what I really wanted. Not quite exact, but close enough. And it looks really good to me. I really like it. I love how I have the big doe eyes. So that's what I've been working out. That was my my big thing that I wanted for this year. And I just wanted to say thank you and have a wonderful September 11th. For those of you who weren't born before, weren't old enough to have been there for September 11th, I hope my story of what happened to me today will really help you, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. If you were alive during September 11th, put down in the comments below what your experiences were. I would love to, read those, or you can even make a video and I'll check it out for you. Well, not for you, but I'll check it out, because I really want to know, what was your experience on September 11th? Alright, so have a wonderful day, my furry legion.